Okay, so you know you guys sent us that article, The Fear of Being Alone. We figured it's time for a deep dive.
Yeah, for sure.
Think of this as like your, cheat sheet to the big ideas about being alone and,
Yeah.
self-discovery and all that.
Right.
So what we want to do is like really unpack what this article's saying,
Yeah.
about how we feel about being on our own. I was like, it's not a bad thing, really. It's more like this
Hmm.
amazing chance to really get ourselves, you know.
Hmm.
And one of the things that jumps out right away is how the article says that being afraid to be alone. Well, it's not always about like missing people. It's more like we're uncomfortable with what's going on in our own heads.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So let's dive into that.
Yeah.
The article kicks off with this really interesting idea that silence smell can feel louder than like a ton of noise going on around you. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think when you think about it, it's because when it's quiet, all the distractions go away. It's like all the noise and stuff outside ourselves that can actually be like a shield, you know? It keeps us from like really facing our own thoughts. So when that all goes quiet, we're just left with ourselves.
Yeah.
No filter, just raw. And I think that's where it feels so loud. It's like we're forced to face this inner world head on.
Right. Yeah. It's like you can't escape it.
Exactly.
So the article calls this thing we have to face our inner critic. It makes it sound like this like huge obstacle to being okay with being alone. What exactly does it mean by inner critic?
Well, think of it this way. Being alone is like shining this really bright spotlight on your inner critic, you know? It's that voice that's always doubting and criticizing, never letting up. And in those quiet moments, those negative thoughts usually just kind of tune out. They become like this roar. You
Yeah.
can't ignore them anymore. The article uses this example that really hits home. It's like this constant feeling of, I'm not good enough, just echoing in your head. But here's the thing, the silence itself isn't bad. It's just that in the silence, you hear everything so much clearer. Right, okay.
It's like your own personal sound booth for really hearing yourself talk.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then you can start to like rewrite that script.
Okay, so basically, we're often afraid to be alone because we're afraid of running into this super harsh judge inside us. But the article talks about this idea of meeting yourself as a way to change things, right?
What does that actually involve? I mean, is it just about changing how we talk to ourselves?
It's a good question. And it is about changing the self-talk for sure. But meeting yourself in solitude, it's more than just quieting the negativity. It's like this conscious shift from I'm broken to I'm healing. It's like treating yourself with kindness and understanding. Imagine taking stock of your values and beliefs, but without all the judgment.
So being more accepting.
Yeah, and curious even. Just being present with who you are without needing to change anything right away. The article puts it really well. It says, if you always speak to yourself like an enemy, you'll never feel safe in your own company.
That's really powerful. It makes sense why we avoid being alone if we're constantly battling ourselves inside. The article also talks about this like constant pressure to share everything online. How does that play into being comfortable with being alone?
I think there's a big connection there. The article argues that needing validation from other people all the time, it actually stops us from finding peace inside ourselves
Oh, yeah.
because you're always performing. And it offers this alternative idea that healing and growing are like sacred personal things that don't need an audience. It's like this constant sharing online drowns out the quiet voice inside, that inner wisdom.
I see what you mean, yeah.
The article frames it beautifully when it says keeping something private isn't hiding, it's holding space for yourself.
Yeah, it's your own space. So basically, always chasing likes and comments can weaken our sense of self, which then makes being alone even scarier. And the article links this to that Stoic idea from Marcus Aurelius that our thoughts really shape who we are, right?
Right, right. Like if we want to talk about stoicism, which is all about inner strength and stuff, Marcus Aurelius's quote becomes super important. He said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts."
Right.
It means what we think and believe inside has way more power over how we feel than any like fleeting validation we get online. And that's huge. So when we're always looking for approval from others, we're missing out on building a strong, positive internal dialogue in those quiet moments.
Yeah. And that's like the opposite of what the Stoics believed, right?
Exactly. They saw solitude not as running away, but as a kind of mental training ground,
Okay.
a place to work on being unfazed by everything outside and the negative stuff inside, too.
So instead of just chilling in solitude, you're actively shaping yourself. The article then gets into this deep human need to be understood by others, why could that sometimes be a problem?
Well, the article says that this need to be understood. It can make us twist ourselves into shapes we think other people will like and accept.
Oh, so we're like performing even in our personal lives.
Exactly. And that makes us dependent on external validation for our sense of self.
Yeah.
So being alone without that mirror, it can feel really scary.
It's like we're curating ourselves for everyone else to see.
Yeah.
So how does solitude help us break free from that and connect with our true selves?
Solitude lets us be ourselves without performing for anyone. No filter, no trying to please anyone. And from that space, the article says something really powerful. Real power is found in being misunderstood yet confident.
Hmm.
It's like you have this strong inner compass that doesn't get messed up even if others don't get you. It's liberating. The article reminds us, not everyone is meant to understand you, and that's okay.
It's like a weight off your shoulders. It's strange, though, right? That real strength comes from not needing everyone to get you.
Mm.
Okay, so the article also brings up how we see stillness, how we often think of it as emptiness or weakness. Why do you think that is?
I guess it's because we live in a culture that's always like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
Always doing something, always achieving. So stillness can feel kind of wrong, even uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
But the article challenges that. It says that real peace is powerful. And that's a deep kind of peace that doesn't need you to be busy or have other people agree with you.
So it's saying that we fill silence with stuff, scrolling TV, whatever, because being still makes us uncomfortable.
Right. We've forgotten how to just be present with ourselves. Silence feels like this weird void we got to fill up.
Yeah, like it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the article says true peace isn't something you find out there. It's an inside job. You find it through knowing yourself and feeling whole without needing all those distractions. And it brings back Marcus Aurelius again with this amazing quote. It's like, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul.
I like that.
And solitude is that retreat, that chance to go inside and find that quiet space.
It's so powerful. The article then moves on to vulnerability, which most people think is the opposite of strength.
Yeah, totally.
What does the article say about vulnerability when we're talking about being alone?
The really insightful thing here is how the article flips the script and says vulnerability is actually at the core of real strength.
That was interesting.
It's pushing back against this idea that we always got to look tough and in control.
Right, right.
And instead it says tears in private aren't weakness, they're a release. The idea is that often being afraid to be alone is actually masking a fear of facing our real feelings. The stuff we try to hide or distract ourselves from when we're with other people. The article has this beautiful way of defining true strength. Bending without breaking, crying without shame, and healing without apology.
That's beautiful, yeah. It's about being able to bounce back because you're not afraid to feel your emotions fully. Then the article critiques how we tie our self-worth to how much we do and achieve. How does solitude help us challenge that, which can be kind of toxic sometimes?
This is so important in our world where we're always supposed to be hustling. The article questions this idea that our value depends on how much we produce.
Right, it shouldn't be like that.
And it reminds us that our worth isn't tied to what we do, but who we are. And it brings up Marcus Aurelius again with this simple but profound advice: if you seek tranquility, do less. The article stresses you are just as valuable resting as you are producing.
Right, we need to hear that.
And in that sense, stillness becomes this coming home, a way to remember your worth that's already there, not something you have to earn.
It's almost revolutionary in today's world, this idea that it's okay to just be. The article also talks about something we don't talk about much, outgrowing relationships as we grow and change ourselves. What role does solitude play there?
Yeah. Sometimes when we grow personally, we kind of drift apart from people we were close to before. And the article acknowledges the quiet grief that comes with that feeling of loss.
Definitely.
It also points out that people might miss the old you, the you that was maybe easier to be around or less challenging. But it reframes the loneliness you can feel not as a failure, but as making space for alignment and authenticity in your life.
It's like you're making room for the relationships that really fit who you are now. Okay, so finally, the article comes back to this idea of looking inward, instead of always searching for something outside ourselves to make us whole.
Yeah, this is where the article's core message really shines through. It questions this constant chase for some better version of ourselves in the future.
Right.
And it offers this grounding truth. You don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you already are. It's a shift from always striving and improving to just being and accepting yourself. And it emphasizes that it's not about reinvention, but recognition, peeling back all the layers of expectations and societal pressures to uncover your true self.
So it's already there inside us. And throughout the article, there's this clear Stoic thread running through it, right?
Yeah.
How does that philosophy influence how the article views solitude and self-discovery?
The Stoic influence is definitely strong. It's there in the way the article emphasizes controlling your internal reactions to stuff happening outside, which is a big part of Stoicism.
Yeah, for sure.
It also quotes Epictetus, who said, "Know first who you are, then adorn yourself accordingly." That sums up the Stoic view of solitude perfectly. It's not just being isolated, but like a training ground where you develop self-awareness, resilience, and inner peace.
Yes. Like practice.
It's all about building your inner character so you're not thrown off by what's going on around you and you're grounded in your own values.
So to wrap it up, what's the key message we should take away from this deep dive into the fear of being alone?
The article closes with this really powerful and hopeful message. Being alone isn't about rejection or lacking connection. It's about meeting yourself fully.
Yeah.
It's like an invitation to be kind to yourself, to be honest with yourself, and to be patient with yourself.
It's about being present with who you are without judging yourself and seeing your inherent worth. And the article leaves us with this beautiful final thought.
It does. The last quote really captures the essence of the whole piece. You don't need to find yourself somewhere out there. You need to come home to yourself, patiently, gently, fully.
I love that.
It's a profound reminder about self-acceptance and finding peace within.
So we want to leave you with this. What if you started seeing those moments when you're alone, not as something to avoid or fill up, but as like a really important meeting with the most important person in your life?
It's good.
It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.